Okay, so here with Phineas from the Ultimate Human Experience again.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm
It's
super excited.
So nice to have you back.
Yeah, I look forward to these every week.
Master classes on health is what I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's really fun. Super, super fun. So all I do is just study the whole time that I'm away from you and apply everything. Then I come back refreshed with new information and on a little bit another level.
And you're sharing right now. You have a bunch of platforms. You got the Ultimate Human Experience. I think TikTok.
Yep.
I've seen a few of your posts on there.
Yeah.
And those are great. You're walking around and just like as top of the head, top of the mind type stuff comes up, because you are almost like full time, just like studying and applying.
Right.
That's what's really interesting. Is it's almost like the ultimate human experiment.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of what you're like, this experiment, and through that experience, you're sharing all this awesome stuff through what you're experiencing. Because that's the value. I mean, we can all read a book and spill it, and, we can all be parrots going, yeah, this, and seem like we're smart. But if you don't have that experience behind it and actually that practicality, then, there's not really much value. But the experience side, man, it's exciting to see your change and growth. And each time, I know you're energetic wise and fitness wise, I've just see you just keep escalating. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's been such an interesting experience, and it's not the first time that I've tried to do this. And I know you've done your own version of this, with originally many years ago with our meditation. I mean, I was just talking to one of our mutual friends, and I was saying, I laid out basically the whole blueprint of how it really works. So, back in those old days, I came in contact with meditation, and I never knew anything about the Vedas. I didn't dive that deeply into like the Bible or the Quran or the teachings of Buddha or really any deep philosophy that much. And so a lot of my habits and my lifestyle was just mainstream American society, which was just like full of sugar and watching a bunch of TV, and it wasn't a super high quality of life. It definitely wasn't deep philosophically. There was no meditation and prayer and concepts of, higher consciousness and getting into these enlightened states of like bliss and ecstasy. That's all super foreign to me. And so when I started, kind of just looking into this a little bit deeper, it was exactly the same process. It's so fascinating because you read these ancient scriptures, these beautiful books of wisdom, and you learn from these masters that have already applied all of this information, and you get inspired because it's a new life. It's a whole new amazing life that you've never experienced before. And in the books, it's like it's telling a story of what could be possible for you. And that was like super, super attractive. Like, that could be possible for me, this ultimate human experience. And so I started applying some of it, and I started to gain some of that experience, And so some people ask me, it's like, well, then what happened since it's been almost 30 years? And it's that same problem that plagues a lot of society with anything that they want to do, is I would go pretty hard for a couple of years, and then I would just let it go. And I would just drift back into my old ways, because my old conditioned ways I had been building up for so many years before that. And as it teaches in the ancient Vedas, we even have past lives, multiple lifetimes where we've been conditioned over so long that if you don't really put a lot of determined effort on a regular basis to really recondition yourself, your consciousness, your mind, your body, everything, then you'll easily just go back to your old ways. And then everything you have is,
Yeah, and then also, of course, we live in a society that's got a certain way of doing things, right? Where you're bumping into people, you're seeing everywhere you go, you're being influenced by these other influences coming on you. So it's another layer. We want to try and live in our own kind of bubble, in a sense, like a protective bubble. But of course, we're in society, and so all these things are also hitting us. You want to eat healthy, but McDonald's is right there, right? So he's just like, you go to the mall to buy some healthy stuff. Oh, there's this cotton candy. I mean, everywhere you go, it's one thing after another, people lining up to get into these places, and you're starting to feel, oh, yeah, maybe I should,
Think about this. Think about if society was, say, 90% plus of all the entire population was geared towards just this, this ultimate human experience, right? So the nutrition was all on point. All the stores all around were like as fresh and organic and wild and full of vitality as they possibly could. That was like just the default. It was very, very rare. Like really elite health food stores and restaurants are the ones that are rare. But what if the McDonald's were that rare? Like
Right.
1 in 1,000.
Right.
And then the consciousness of the people. Everyone's engaging in exercise and meditation and study and trying to respect each other and be kind to each other and loving to each other and making it so that the environment is thriving, the plants, the animals, the air, the water, the earth. It'd be virtually impossible for you to be unhealthy in a situation like that because your atmosphere is so good.
Yeah.
Just like now, it's so incredibly hard to be healthy because everywhere you turn, like I can't be as healthy as I want to be because I have to breathe the air that's being contaminated by the human beings that have decided to engage in these industrial activities and these money-making ventures that just don't care about all the pollution in the soil and the air and the water and the food. And even on a subtle level, simply the consciousness. And a lot of people, maybe they don't really believe this so much, but I really feel like there's this subtle energy that's like wrapped around the entire earth. And this is like a conglomeration of all of the human beings together of what their like consciousness is. So we're just being just immersed in a certain level of consciousness. And so unless you're really intentional about keeping yourself out of that by your own practices, then you'll just become one of the people by default that just falls into the status quo and you wonder why your life is not happy.
Yeah. So what are some techniques we can use to just protect ourselves? I guess that's one way of putting it, like protecting ourselves from this influence, invisible influence.
Yeah.
It can be, or it can be very visual, but
Right.
there's also like an invisible kind of influence. Yeah. You're just around someone that's thinking and acting a certain way. You just start wanting to act, do what they're doing, you know? I mean, it's a natural aspect of the human condition.
Yeah. You know, I've really looked into this so much and like, why was it that I found such valuable information? Like originally, before even I was interested in the Vedas, I'm not sure if I told you this backstory, but I became a staunch vegan at 18, mostly raw food. I was juicing, I was cleansing. I was super, super excited, about all of these different things. And so I already had some inclination towards like almost like a belief that there's something superior than what I grew up with. But the interesting thing is that it's still a really, really big challenge because of the influences and the ease of modern society and all of its temptations. Sometimes it's like, gosh, do I really want to work this hard to fight against the tide of this? It's like I'm swimming upstream the whole entire time and 99.9% of the people are just swimming downstream. And it seems like maybe they're having kind of a good time because they're swimming downstream with ease. Yeah. But you're only looking like a snapshot of like that happy face at like a party or even the happy face at McDonald's. Like we had a really nice time when we went to eat at McDonald's. Yeah, let's get your blood work done. Let's see what's happening to your whole genetic code. Let's see how long you live. You're not going to really understand what's going to be happening to you that's in the moment. It's what's down the road. So this is where it's really, really hard because for the person that wants to have the ultimate life, they have to sacrifice the pleasure now to invest into their self for the future. Whereas it could be pain and suffering now, like don't eat that thing, fast, go through that hard workout, save money instead of spend it, read these ancient books of scripture instead of, go to Disneyland or whatever it might be. And then a bunch of the other people are just kind of dancing around and partying. And you're like, that looks like a lot of fun. But then it's flipped because the other person that did all the amazing things, they get paid back later, 10x, 100x, 1000x. And the person that did all the nonsense, they get paid back negatively, 10x, 100x, 1000x.
Right.
So you have to really look at this a little bit with really a vision of clarity and sincerity and honesty of what is really happening, what's the situation. And as you probably remember, and I remember reading this all the time, in the Vedas, it asks us to look at material happiness and temporary sense pleasures that are really amazing for the moment and a life of sacrifice and austerity and discipline for our future. Look at them side by side and really see the ultimate result of these. And you'll find long term that this one wins hand down every time. And so for the intelligent person, they're going to really choose this. And I finally come to the point now at my age, trial and error for so many different years. that I tried to see if that temporary sense, just pleasure world would really work. And it kept on just biting me again. And it's just not worth it to me anymore.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in a more enlightened state. And I just realize things with more clarity.
It's that investment.
Yeah.
If we invest in whatever, we might be investing in McDonald's, eating every day. That's still that's your investment. You're investing in every day you're going in. And you're investing in that temporary sense flash, quick. That's what you're investing in, and that's what you're getting. It's association as well too. It's hard to even think about this. So that's what's so wonderful. We live with this age now where people can pick up their device and just start listening to someone who has this information, so we get to associate with people, who we get to pick and choose. I was very fortunate when I was, my dad, he was an entrepreneur, always health nut kind of, and just, I saw firsthand the work he put in, he was up at 5 every day, weekends off, but Monday to Friday, like clockwork, just like a machine, and what he built was he built his company, when he left it had over 100 employees, built it from scratch, and is, multi-million, big company. And, seeing just the work, and also fitness wise, he was always reading, investing in knowledge and more and more. And I just saw how he was obviously a successful person. Like I knew, okay, obviously I lived in it, right? So I could see it. And to have that experience where I know how much work it took, and I know the sacrifices, but I also know the results too, getting to see what happens when you put in that time and you sacrifice getting up at 5 every day and working out and eating well, and just not really realizing, but then like going to like a company picnic or something, and my dad's like this big shot, right? Kind of thing, like it's like, oh, he's just your dad, right? You just like, you make fun of him because he wears silly slippers or something, right? But he's like, all this, like, people are just like, wow, your dad, and so that's something that I'm very fortunate to have, that side of it, to grown up with that type of discipline, and to see that it's the results of discipline. I think when people think discipline, it's like, ooh, it's like, that's not a nice word, discipline and control, and maybe austerity, like these words. Yeah. But man, the results of them, and now my dad's living this life too, where he's, retired, and, he's doesn't have to worry about, much if he has to kind of do what he wants, and got to retire early and those types of things, And so just from that kind of, materialistic standpoint, where it's just like that investment is just, it's so valuable.
Yeah. Once again, I really suggest people, like, a lot of times you can get a glimpse into some of these things with, famous people and wealthy people, because a lot of times you'll think, well, if they're famous, and a lot of times if they're famous, sometimes wealth can come with that. You'll notice a lot of these people are actually going through a lot of drama, a lot of addiction to drugs and depressions and anxieties and things like that, is because there's really a lot of these spikes of pleasure that are happening constantly. And there is not so much of that kind of stoic, Vedic, just sacrifice on austerities that come from making it so that there's not so many ups and downs. It's just much more even. And at the end, it's kind of like the rabbit and the hare and the tortoise type of thing. And I think I might have been talking to my mom. I was like, I want to be a little bit of a hybrid of the tortoise and the rabbit. Like sometimes I want to sprint a little bit, but the main thing is just keeping it steady, so things just don't get out of control and really, really crazy. We have one neighbor next to us where we live. It's like a couple times a week. I mean, they're screaming their heads off at midnight, throwing stuff off, bouncing off the side of each other's heads. It's just craziness. And you get a sense that there's definitely alcohol involved. It's just a crazy life. So maybe there is a good amount of fun and passion to that whole crazy world, but there's a huge downside. So what I'm trying to do with my experimentation and just my study is just try to give a little bit of a window into this is just it's a higher quality of life, and just proving it and sharing. Look at this person, this person, this person, since time immemorial, they've also proven that this is a better quality of life. So sometimes when people are thinking about, well, do I want to make a change? It's like, it's a little bit of a gamble. You know, they throw the dice. It's like, well, I'm going to have to give up on all of my pleasures, or not necessarily all of their pleasures, but some of the pleasures that are really dear to them.
Right.
And then, switch to this other thing. But in the end, it's the payoff is huge.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah. So it's hopefully inspiring some people to just try a little bit harder.
right.
Inspiring ourselves too.
Mhm.
It's so nice when we teach something, we get to hear it too, and so it's nice to be able to remind ourselves,
Mhm.
that what's important, and that's what I've noticed too. Like doing these podcasts we've done regular now.
Yeah.
It's just been easier to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's been easier to say no to the cookies and the sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And also having the information. It just gets easier.
Yeah.
It gets easier.
Right. Yeah. I was talking to my daughter today. This is an interesting concept. We might have talked about this on one of the other podcasts, but I think it's good to, bring this point back home again, is that you start to learn the skill of actually how it's like a meta skill. If you start to eat better, it actually gives you another skill of being able to learn and understand like how to eat better. It's really interesting like that. So it's like when you start to my daughter plays the piano, and I said, if you keep on practicing playing the piano, then you're going to start learning actually ways to make it so that you're more efficient at getting better at playing the piano. And then that will spill over as a foundation of discipline and reinforcing that I'm doing something that's going to serve me in the future. Mm-hmm. And it spills over into keeping my room clean and keeping the diet good.
It's so true.
This is very good.
It's so true. Like I look at the discipline of sports. Like that was my discipline when I was younger. Just the practicing. Mm-hmm. My big sport experience, biggest one in my life, was being on a volleyball team in high school. Mm. And going into high school, the last thing I thought I was going to be on was a volleyball team. My dream is to be football. I love football. Went up for the football team and the volleyball team. I kind of just tried everything because, and another big one was our high school volleyball team was one of the best in the country. Uh-huh. And they played like the first year. First, they had an exhibition right at the front of the year, kind of beginning of the year. And, the whole school showed up. And then you go to a football game, it's like there's like 20 people, like 10 people in the stands, Mm-hmm. Like for some reason, it was a volleyball school. And so all my buddies too, we weren't volleyball guys, we played everything. Mm-hmm. But getting to be a part of this kind of elite sport. So we all kind of relearned volleyball from the ground up, but we were natural athletes. We played everything, mm-hmm. that was our life, recess, lunch, everything was sports. Mm-hmm. So we were all kind of natural athletes, but we had these coaches that they just had this program. I don't know where it actually came from, but the drills and the discipline, twice a day we were practicing, mm-hmm. and just the discipline. I just remember that was so like, as soon as the guy would hit the ball, we'd say split, and everyone at the same time would move at the exact same time. Your feet would hit the same time, and you'd be in this position. Mm-hmm. Like it was just, he was refining. He'd walk around like tilt you, go, no, this angle. He like just the refining and the refining and the refining. Mm-hmm. And it, of course, we kind of hated him. We hated this coach because he's just like, and we'd make fun of him, and he's like, the drill sergeant kind of guy. Mm-hmm. But then we started winning. Mm-hmm. We started winning and winning and winning. Mm-hmm. We were like, we lost to one team. Mm-hmm. There was one team that was better than us. We beat them once, but they beat us like 3 times. Mm-hmm. And these guys were so good. Mm-hmm. So we were one of the best. We were best in the province, probably one of the best in the province, because you don't go to the nationals at that a younger stage, But it was just like the excitement of just like kicking butt. Like it was just the results of the discipline and the work Mm-hmm. I'd always remember that. Like I just, having that, like you said, whether it's piano, my volleyball, mm-hmm. Just pushing past these pain points, mm-hmm. I mean, it was cold. You had to get up in the morning. It's like 6 a.m. I want to sleep in bed. You just wouldn't. And the whole team was just, no one slept. No one slacked. I don't know why this coach was able to motivate these guys. Because we had a coach like 2 years later, a different coach, and we slacked and it was a terrible thing. So same players. But still, like, man, I just remember that feeling of the discipline and the results, and I just hope that it's something in your life, have some experience of that. It is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point. When I think about when people want to try to make some changes, and if they're starting to get convinced that this is the better path, that's the first thing, is like through this logic and this argument and this proof, and so many people from the past that have done it, just the stacks of proof just keep on, getting bigger and bigger. So it's not that difficult to convince someone that this is a potential route for them. And so getting the momentum going in the beginning, like we had talked about before, it's depending how down you are, if you have literally the unhealthiest diet in the whole entire world, it's going to be super, super challenging. Just like if you have tons of debt, like say you were millions of dollars in debt and you literally to have hardly any skills at making money. Maybe even in a whole lifetime, it wouldn't be possible to erase all that debt. I mean, there's different variables of how it is, but I believe that for the most part, within reason, for most people, if they put enough effort, they really can get themselves out. And there'll be certain situations that come that are almost seemingly miracles, just the way that things get arranged and the opportunities that come to you when you really have a lot of desire and determination to do that. And one thing that I noticed, which is increasing my desire and my determination, is just being around people. And it doesn't have to be around physical. That's the great thing about it, is because you may not have access to physical people. But the reason why I spend so much time studying and listening to such good content like this, I'll give you a little of a list of the type of content that I really like. So I'll listen to professional athletes on interviews on podcasts, like NFL guys with like 3 Super Bowl rings. They'll talk for like a couple of hours about their whole entire life and how they got to where they are now and what are the benefits of all the hard times and the sacrifice they went through. And it just comes across like such a happy, energetic, fulfilled, purpose-filled person. It just resonates with me. It's like so high class, and they're still humble, and they give in charity, and they take care of their mom. It's just so sweet and amazing from so many angles. And if you were to have another person on there where they were just mainly lazy and just ate really unhealthy and they didn't care about people, what kind of interview would that be? What kind of results would that be? It wouldn't come across as attractive or fun or aspiring at all. So really take a good look at this. All of these different habits and experiences you had, if you weren't disciplined and you just didn't really care about your body or yourself or others, then it's just going to manifest as a really, really low quality of life. And no one's attracted to that.
There's this study, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the marshmallow test.
Yeah, I have.
You heard about it?
A lot, yeah. It's super cool.
It's super cool.
I would have failed it for sure. Absolutely. It would have been the worst.
You think you would have failed
I would.
Really?
Yeah.
You were like the marshmallow kid?
Even though it's starting to dawn on me the reality of that whole marshmallow thing. That's the interesting thing. And one thing that's kind of unique about being, maybe not like super unique in the world, but there's maybe not as many people like me, is that I'm one of the ones that actually had a lot less discipline young, but because I got burned so badly from not being disciplined, now I'm starting to realize, I went down the wrong path often.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because so people don't know about the study. This was a 30-year study. Is that the one you know about?
Yeah.
In New
I don't
Zealand?
know the exact amount of years, but it was a lot.
I think it was New Zealand, right? The one I thought was New Zealand. So,
Okay.
This is, I may be paraphrasing, but 30 years, they were basically trying to see how important discipline was. Real simple. Get a kid, I forget, maybe they're like 5, 6, 7, like it was around the same age. Get a whole bunch, I think it was like 200 kids or something. Bring them in, sit them down, real simple, put a marshmallow in front of them. Time it. If you can wait, you get another one.
Right.
And then that was the test.
Right.
Some kids went up to like 10, 20, just kept racking them in.
Yep.
Many kids, first time, after 10 seconds, marshmallow's gone.
Yeah.
All right. So from discipline, that was the test. and delayed sense gratification, right?
Yep.
Being able to see that bigger picture of like, okay, if I just wait a little longer, I get 20, you know? And, just like control. And of course, probably some of the kids were like, after they got 5, they're like, I can get 6, 7, 8. I'm not sure how much they doubled it, but it was like incremental benefits.
Right.
And so anyway, bring the kids back. So they studied it, wrote it all down. I think there was some other stuff they did. Oh yeah, they did like background checks with like family and other things, and then brought them all back 30 years later, and interviewed them. Quality of life, basically, how much income, how much stress, family relationships, just income, debt, like just real life practical stuff, drinking, alcohol, smoking, these types of things. And it was just like the correlation between like the kids who. Basically, it was almost just a parallel thing where the kids who did pretty good, they were having a pretty good life. Kids who could do really well, they're having a really good life as far as the life scale, you know. And then the kids who just couldn't hold back and just failed it, basically they weren't doing that well, you know, prison, drugs, alcohol, you know. It was just pretty amazing how they could almost predict these kids' life just by putting a marshmallow in front of them.
It's just so crazy. And when I first heard, I was like, God, could it possibly be true? But, you know, I just took it for granted that, you know, they were, you know, being completely honest. And so it was just another bit of evidence to fuel. Because what happens is the mind's really tricky. We had talked about this a little bit before. And on my videos, I'm basically, it's like, I'm kind of like interviewing my mind in real time for everyone to actually let people know. So I did a recent video where the way that I do training now has evolved, and it just continues to evolve. The diet's evolving, the mindset's evolving, the way that I do my business practice, it's all evolving. So we have the ability to pivot and adapt and get better and better, or we can get worse. We can just let it go, and we can get lazier and messier and sloppier, and just everything can fall apart if we want to. It's really our choice, right? So, you know, just like building a house or just halfway building a house or just letting the house go, it's like this is just the physics of our life, right? And so what I've been doing now, which has been really, really good, if people really like hypertrophy training, which is just building the size of the muscles, specifically the size, if the size of the muscles grow, then you'll inevitably get stronger. But there's strength training too, which I think we talked a little bit about the differentiation between this, but I'll just go down that tangent real quick. Strength can be incredibly good, especially for old age. The bones, the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles will be stronger if you fall. It'll be less likely that you break a bone. You'll be able to just do activities that a lot of older people can't do. So strength training is like incredible. Hypertrophy training is a little more aesthetics. Hypertrophy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a fancy way of building the muscle size, right? That's it.
Size.
Yeah. And so, you know, a bodybuilder is the extreme version of hypertrophy. A strongman, a power lifter is the extreme version of strength. So a lot of times a strongman, you know, a power lifter, they'll be really, really big, but they won't be sculpted, you know, like a bodybuilder where there's no body fat and all the muscles are kind of like popping everywhere. Those guys are just more of like sculptors and carvers of the body, right? So it's more of an aesthetic choice versus just you don't really care. So you can go either road or you can be a hybrid. So I'm a hybrid. I like getting a little bit stronger, but I also just like the aesthetics of it. And so what I noticed is that if I go really, really intense for like 45 minutes to an hour on like one or two body parts, the body can't sustain it for that long. And the intensity of it makes it so the muscle is like getting signaled, grow. Like you're going through a really intense thing. Whereas if you casually work out, there's not enough signal. So the muscles will be healthy, but they won't really grow. And it's the same thing with strength. You really got to lift really heavy things if you really want to get stronger. You can't lift light things if you want to get really, really strong. It's just the way that works. So I basically exhaust myself with the muscles, just the muscles themselves. And it's just a few muscles. And then what I'll then usually do is I'll do ab work because the core is really, really important. And then I'll do cardio, which basically just eliminates all the fat. And so the other day I was walking by and there's this one ab machine where it's weighted. It's really hard. It's just really uncomfortable to do it. And I already exhausted myself so much. So I was observing my mind. I was walking by and my mind's like, skip that. That's it. Go do the crunches. The crunches are easier. It's not that big a deal. So I kind of like, I stopped for a second. I paused and wait a second. And then I told my mind, I said, wait a second. This is not how we do things. What we do is we do the hard thing that we don't want to do every time. And so now my mind's interesting because it'll actually pose the thing that is the easy way out, and I'll just choose the opposite. So now I got a really interesting hack. It's like, oh, go get the donut. Nope, we're going to go get the celery instead. And it's almost kind of like you're disciplining the mind, like a little bit of a whip. Like, come on, get back in line. If you're in this really, really just hyper-focused state and you're really paying close attention, the quality of your life just keeps increasing. Your ability to be able to see higher qualities of consciousness, higher qualities of life now improves. So your vision changes too of what's right. So like I didn't even realize that this is the way that I should work out to really incite that muscle stimulus the way I wanted until I started experimenting and really observing how everything went. So a lot of people, they're not really spending hardly any time on this. They're not even thinking about it at all. And if you're not focused on this and seeing about like how are things improving or how are things degrading, then there's actually really no hope. So you have to have a little bit of a desire to improve in order for you to start to have the vision to see how can I improve. If you have no desire at all and you're just completely comfortable and there's no ambition, that's fine. I mean, there's no judgment there, but just know that that could be one of the issues that you have.
Yeah. What about like cheat days? I've heard you talk about this before, like cheat days.
Yeah.
What do you think about cheat days? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's like that break? Having that in the okay, this is really hard right now, but I have this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because I know that I've heard that's a lot with like, I know someone was talking about Rock. He's got this big cheat day. He shows off his cheat day because obviously he's physically impressive. So
yeah,
of course people probably love watching the cheat days because it's like, see, look, he eats pancakes or whatever, and he's like that. That's one thing that. I guess I do have for sure, like days where I'm just like, fuck it,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of, this will be a cheat day for me. And
yeah.
Does it help? Does it?
I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting too because there's a huge variety of what like would be considered a cheat day. Like I had a cheat day yesterday.
Yeah.
Guess what my cheat day was?
Bananas.
It was a bowl full of cherries. That was my cheat.
Right.
It was just more sugar and more carbohydrates than I normally eat. That's a cheat for me. And I actually noticed that I gained weight just in one day from that, a little bit. And I could just tell that my body switched over from fat burning and muscle building to just kind of like neutral, just from that.
Right.
Right. So what I would suggest is this, depending on how ambitious you are for a particular goal and how well trained is the mind. So I'll give you an idea of a couple of guys that I follow that are the top discipline, like literally like in the world that I found so far. So this guy named David Goggins we'll talk about, which is just crazy. He has some of the highest views on discipline, and his books and his podcasts and stuff like that are just crazy. Millions and millions and millions, changed so many lives. And this other guy, which is maybe arguably even more hardcore, is Wes Watson, who came from prison and is super, super intense. But there's actually a ton of wisdom, and also these guys have experimented on themselves, and also they've experimented on others in the sense that they coach and they teach, and they just get feedback from others. And so these guys, in certain areas, there's no cheat days. And this is what their logic is. Like, for instance, Wes Watson gets up at 2:45 a.m. on the dot every single day, and he's clocked more than 16 years without missing one day. That's what he claims. But interestingly enough, too, is that a lot of times some of his followers will check in with him, and they'll have screenshots and actually video of him responding at 2:45. So like people are just trying to make sure that it's really honest and real, and he's never failed on this yet. And so it seems really, really legit. So what he says is that the reason why he doesn't want to break the 2:45 is that, first of all, he's made a commitment to himself. Like he's told himself he's going to do this. And when he's accountable to himself, David Goggins also uses the accountability mirror. He puts like little Post-it notes on the mirror, and he just checks in. It's like, are you doing what you said you're going to do? And that builds this self-esteem and just kind of pride and admiration that you follow through with your word. So if your level is that, well, I'm going to do 2:45 5 days a week, but then the other days I'll sleep until it's like 5. If you're still adhering to your word, then it's not necessarily a cheat in that sense. But if you think about cheat days as far as just the diet is concerned, there's interesting scientific evidence of how it can be beneficial. and also how it can be beneficial psychologically too. But it really depends on the circumstance. I'll just give you a couple ideas of how it can be. For instance, say you go into like a keto diet where you get in that ketogenic state because your carbs are super, super low. Usually that's really high fat, pretty low protein, and super low carbs. And the reason is because the macronutrient fat is the only one that doesn't raise your insulin. So it keeps you in that ketogenic state. And that just means that you haven't raised your insulin. So protein can actually raise the insulin, and carbs can really raise the insulin, right? And so in those states, what'll happen a lot of times is, especially when people are going low calorie and getting into that ketogenic, the metabolism can really slow down. So there's almost like a little bit of a hack and a trick that bodybuilders use and other people use, where one day a week or maybe once every 10 days, or depending on their schedule, they'll throw in like a high carb, and they could even eat like a few donuts or some ice cream or something. And what it'll do is it'll like shock the system, making it feel like I'm not in starvation mode. So most of the time it's just, oh, we're burning fat, we're burning fat, we're burning fat. Oh, wait a second. We've been burning fat for a long time. Eventually, if we burn too much fat, it's going to start burning up our organs and our muscle, and it's going to kill us. Mm-hmm. So if you just spike that with that cheat day, sometimes that can make it so that that system doesn't go into that, like red alert mode.
Ah.
Yeah. So that's a little thing. And then psychologically also, for the one that's starting down this path where this is like, God, they're just chomping at the bit. It's like, God, this sucks, those are the kind of people where even multiple cheat days, because otherwise what happens if it becomes too austere for you, you'll totally go off it. Right. So for me, where I'm at now though, because I've been building this up for a couple of years, and also I've done tons of fasting in the past, and I've done some pretty austere things. So I'm not like super novice to it. I'm comfortable being pretty hardcore. Like compared to the average person now that sees, they're just like shocked. Oh my God, it's super hardcore. But for me, I've been building up to this, and it's just getting more and more like that. Like I told you today, now I'm almost like, it's just certain food that I just buy once a day. Yeah. And then that's all I eat. Right. It just makes it simple. I have all my macros. I don't have to guess anything.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it works.
That's interesting. Like having basically just a set menu, just a set time of eating too? Or
give or take a little bit. Like I have my intermittent fasting window.
Yeah.
That's pretty set.
Yeah.
The main thing is just don't eat too late. That's my main thing. And a lot of times just by default, I can't eat in the morning because I work out in the morning.
Yeah.
So I eat a little later in the day because I'm working out in the morning. And let's get into working out in high vibration, high frequency, like activities to start your day is like one of the most incredible things that I've ever done. So I eat a little bit later in the day, maybe 12 or 1. And then I try not to eat past like 5 or 6. So it's a pretty short window.
Yeah.
And there's a good 2,000, like in that bag that I brought here. And I was thinking about maybe like just showing you what I eat.
Yeah.
It ended up being 2,600 calories. So it's a little bit high. And when I looked at it, one of them was an avocado, which is 22 grams of fat in just one avocado. It's like, wow, that's really full of fat. It's really, really healthy, but it jumps your calories up a ton. And then I looked at my almond milk too, which I mix with my protein powder. And it actually has quite a bit of fat because it's from almonds. And all of a sudden I was like 70 grams and I really want to be more at like 40. Yeah. So then I was thinking, well, what I'll probably do is I'll take one of the bottles of almond milk and just do water and maybe half an avocado. And that would knock me down by like 500 calories right there.
Are you looking at like, okay, I want this much fat. I want this much protein. I want this much micronutrients.
Yeah.
This much vitamin C. I mean, how much you breaking down as far as categories, should I call them? Like,
yeah.
Are you looking at that?
I have decided to be really scientific. And why is it? Like most people would never want to do this. First of all, I'm the kind of personality, like I actually kind of like accounting, not so much where I'd want to be an accountant. But if I look at a spreadsheet with some numbers, especially with my business, I'm like, oh, this is cool. The profit and loss. And that doesn't overwhelm me. When I was younger, I was in sciences and math, and it was fun to figure out all these problems, all these equations. So none of that kind of stuff scares me. And then as far as like just being accountable, and almost it's a meditative practice for me to analyze the food and it's like this. I'm really curious about my environment. People are like really oblivious to everything. Like, they have no idea, exactly how many inches of rain they get out in Hauula, where I know exactly how many inches, and it serves me to know some of these facts. So you don't know what's going into your body. You don't know what's going into this machine that even the top scientists in the world cannot duplicate. AI can't beat us yet. This is an amazing tool. The nutrition is the molecular parts, the pieces that are building up our body, like we talked about before, and you don't care.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I literally just don't understand it. Even though I treated my body badly some years of my life, I still understood that's what's actually happening there, though. And it was more emotional and stress and depression. It was hard for me to really think about what the healthy decision was at the time. And we can go into a little bit about my ups and downs and how I would have failed the marshmallow test and stuff like that for sure. But now I'm like, okay, when I walk into Whole Foods or Down to Earth or whatever these nice stores are, I kind of almost want to be a little bit of like an AI where I know how many calories and protein and fats a lot of my favorite foods are. So I can just kind of pick and choose and just mix them together to get my macro ratios I like. So I can tell you a little bit about my macro ratios and how it serves me.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to build a lot of muscle, especially a lot of muscle or a lot of strength, and a lot of times those go hand in hand, they're going to want to go a lot higher on the protein. That's for sure. And especially when they're a little bit older, it's just going to be protein synthesis, which is just like the ability for the protein to actually turn into muscle is not going to be as good because you're not going to have the hormone situation that you had when you were younger, especially the testosterone. You measure testosterone at say like 18 versus like 50 or 60 or 70. I mean, most people, it's not going to be comparable at all. So your ability to
Is
build
protein linked to testosterone?
So the way that it works, and I'm not super deep on the science, so we'll kind of go like a little bit, just surface level on it. Lower testosterone means that it's going to be more difficult for you to build muscle. So therefore, if you don't have the building blocks, which is the protein to build the muscle, it's going to be more challenging. So you really want to give yourself the best situation possible.
Okay.
So a lot of the older folks are getting prescribed, add an extra 20 grams or 30 grams or 40 grams, depending on how big their body is, of protein to keep that muscle, at least from not being in a catabolic state.
If you have more muscles, do you have more testosterone?
So I can't say necessarily that just because you have more muscle, you have more testosterone necessarily, but things like strength training, it can increase your testosterone. Certain things in your diet can increase your testosterone.
Okay.
The main thing though, the testosterone is really interlinked into, it's like you're youthful, you're energetic, your sex drive is increased, you're ready to like create kids and have a family potentially. So that's a really integral part of it. So it's only natural that as you're getting to 50, 60, 70, you're not in that family building stage. It wouldn't be optimal for you to pass on your genes. So it's kind of like this chemical cocktail is based upon that, right? And that's why some of the older folks, will take some of the exogenous hormones to just replace it so they can still function in certain ways. They can still build the muscle that they could when they were younger. And some of these therapies are administered by doctors and they can be healthy and they can be good. It just depends. So, there's ways to do this. But as far as the macros go, and the reason why is the higher protein for the muscle building. If you would only like to maintain the muscle, it doesn't have to be even close to as high. I personally do like a 1.5 grams per pound of body fat, even getting close to maybe 1.7. So I'm on the really, really high end.
1.5
to 1.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight.
Per pound of body weight.
So say you're a 200-pound male.
Okay.
Male, female, it doesn't really matter that much.
Then you want to be like 300 grams.
Yeah, so 300 to like 320. Now this is for you're very aggressively in the gym breaking down the muscle and rebuilding it. Like it's really intense.
And so like protein powders, because you can very easily measure it. Is that how you're getting your protein?
That's how I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Is
that whey protein?
And I'm personally doing whey protein. That's the only thing that I'm doing that's not raw. And I switched over that recently. I was doing fully raw, but what I noticed is that the raw plant proteins were actually something about it was a little bit toxic. I was getting like white coating on my tongue. Something was happening and I was taking it a lot, right? And so for someone that's mainly raw food, that's often vegan, definitely someone that's vegetarian, it's unbelievably challenging to keep your calories. This is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. To keep your calories low and your protein super high is not possible without a protein powder if you're vegan. If you go to this guy, he's actually a person that used to study the Vedas a lot. His name is Nimai. He's a professional bodybuilder. Amazing. Raised in the Vedic culture, big and lean and everything. He eats huge amounts of calories though. He's like maybe in his early 30s and he's super active and he's really lean. So he eats like 3,500 or 4,000 or 4,500 calories. So he still gets his like maybe 200 grams to maybe I don't know. He doesn't put a ton of protein in. It's still pretty good, but it's easy to get away with that from like legumes and beans and he might have like one protein shake. But for me, that's doing low calorie. Like sometimes I do 1,700 calories. 1,300 of my calories will be protein.
Yeah.
The rest of it's just a few berries and some salad.
Yeah.
So I get all my micronutrients and my fibers, and then I get my healthy fats from olives, coconut, and avocado. That's pretty much it. A little bit of fat from some of the other stuff, maybe some hemp seeds, a little bit chia seeds. I mix it up a little bit, but the main thing is just the protein. And what I noticed is that my energy is incredible. My sugars are really low. I'm building the muscle. I mean, every week I build a little bit of muscle. I'm a little bit bigger. You know, I'm like maybe 1/4 pound of muscle or 1/8 of a pound per week, which is really great development. I'm getting stronger in the gym. Everything's just running smoothly.
Yeah.
So this worked for sure for someone that's, you know, close to vegan. The only thing I do is just that whey protein, and I could do a plant-based one and mostly raw as well. So, but for regular people that eat meat and all these different things, there's so many sources that they can go to.
Yeah.
Just packed with tons and tons of protein. So it's actually really easy for them.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was great. I mean, the protein thing is super interesting.
Yeah.
That's
a big one right now in the science. You know, a lot of the scientists are out there that are just constantly adding just data to this.
Yeah.
And some doctors are just specifically like protein-centered doctors, and they will use terms like under-muscled. You know, you're under-muscled. It's a major problem. The muscles take in glucose, so they're called a glucose sink. So when a lot of glucose is flowing through the bloodstream because you had too much sugar, or, you know, that muscle will help you do that. Also, it's just functional. Also, people like the way it looks. So there's a lot of benefits to it.
Different proteins develop muscles differently.
They do.
What kind of variety of? Because I'm sure protein. I mean, it's such a broad term. It's almost like calorie. Is it?
Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of different types of protein.
Yeah, that's another thing where it'd be good to just get a little educated. It doesn't take that much time though. People always like throw stuff in the bucket of, oh, that's too hard. No, it's not too hard. What you think is hard is not hard. That's another thing that I am starting to jump on the bandwagon of. Quit having these limiting beliefs. What's hard is climbing to Mount Everest. There's only 1,000 people in the history of the world, I think, that ever did it. I've like 20 billion over the past like 5,000 years or whatever, how many billion it was, right? Think about what's hard. Dude, go down and just put on one YouTube that's like 7 minutes long. It'll give you a breakdown of all the different amino acids and how much you need and what's in what. So the main thing is that you don't really build muscle unless you get 2 grams of leucine. This is the interesting thing. There's science specifically on the amino acid leucine. So if you look at protein, you'll look on a protein powder label, or just, you know, Google something, and you'll see all the amino acid contents. The highest quality protein is going to have the ones that have the really high leucine. So the whey protein has tons of leucine. Pea protein concentrate and some of these other hemp proteins, they have some pretty good amount of leucine, and a lot of the meats have a lot of leucine. So if you're going to be going for like tofu, or there's even protein in berries, super low quality in the sense of building muscle though. It's not that it's low quality protein, because there's no such thing as low quality protein. People say low quality protein just in the sense of it's not easy for you to build muscle with that protein.
So when you're thinking of protein, everything's got protein in it, like you said, pretty much.
I think everything actually has at least a little teeny bit. Every
protein.
Single food on the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're always getting protein if you're eating pretty much anything, unless it's like some, you know, piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But if it's like whey, so leucine is that characteristic or property of protein that is more direct for muscle building. Like the muscles take that on.
It's actually a signal, which is interesting.
It's a signal.
It's a signal. Yeah.
So leucine is a signal.
Yeah. So these are molecles.
So leucine, they can judge how many leucine molecules are in certain types of protein.
Exactly. So the muscle will be. This body is so much more intelligent than a lot of people think, right? You know, a lot of people don't know how complicated it is when you go in the sun and the photons hit the skin. What's actually happening?
Yeah.
Trillions of unbelievably complicated things are happening just from that, from breathing, from seeing, from hearing, from eating, water. Unbelievable. Like I couldn't even describe 1,000th of 1% of all the things that are actually happening. And we don't even know all the things that are happening. So somehow or other, because I'm not educated enough, once you hit 2 grams of leucine in any, they call it a bolus of food, like just an amount of food, that tells the muscle grow. And if you don't hit 2, the muscle's like, eh.
Interesting.
So that's the way it goes.
Wow.
And I guess if you look back into the past, it's like, someone hunted an animal and you had to build up the muscle to gain more strength and power. Then they would eat that, or they might be able to eat enough plants to be able to get it to the point, and then it would grow.
Is there a list of proteins that have more higher leucine account?
So easy now with our modern technology, right? You just Google highest leucine, foods.
Yeah.
And then you get the top 10. And I think whey is, it's at least in the top 5.
So dairy.
A
lot of dairy has high leucine.
All
count.
dairy.
All dairy.
Yeah.
So cheese, milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that they come with a ton of calories.
Ton of calories.
That's all.
I see.
Yeah. So if you're trying to get lean, you just don't want to have a lot of body fat and you want to be muscular. Whey protein, they took all the calories out. Almost all.
Right.
It's just protein. Protein's low in calories.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to, in a little bit after this next podcast, I have a bottle of protein powder this big.
Yeah.
Maybe like this diameter. I eat that every day. The whole thing.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. That's how much I need.
That's the
Yeah.
the powder.
Yep.
The whole.
I'll show you. Yeah, the whole thing. And it's really nice though, because they sell it just as one container, and that's exactly how much protein I need. So as long as it's empty, I'm good for the day.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot. I have really ambitious goals on what I want to do though.
Yeah.
So there are other people that are doing the same exact regimen as me, and you can see the befores and after, and that's what I want. And people will criticize. It can be a little bit toxic for
Is there other certain types of whey? Are you
There's only a few types, and it doesn't matter that much. I use the highest quality possible. I do grass-fed, organic, no fillers, just the top.
Yeah.
And it tastes great, and it's awesome. Some of these plant proteins too. I compared my plant protein, which is mainly pea protein isolate, with the leucine. Because it always has all the amino acids on the back of these packages, because they know, people want to know what's up with this. It's actually pretty similar. And I would have actually just stuck with the plant protein because it actually tasted really good if I didn't get toxic. And I've been doing the whey protein and I don't feel any of the toxicity at all. And I just don't know why. And I haven't Googled why or anything like that, but this is working really, really well for me. And so I highly recommend that one or a plant protein. I'm currently coaching one friend just a little bit, and they're not hardly taking any protein, and they're going to the gym and they're trying to work out. There's like 35 grams and they're vegetarian. And I'm like, no, you just add one protein drink, like this much water with 2 scoops of whey protein every day, and that's it. And you're already where I want you to be. It's so easy. And they just, in their mind, they had an excuse. Oh my gosh, it's going to be impossible for me to get my protein. I was like, what? How? Right. Once again, just all these excuses, these just illusions in their mind. There's too many people out there that have all these illusions in their mind, and I want to break them all. My content, if I do like 1,000 podcasts, what we talked about in my lifetime, and tens of thousands of little shorts, it's just going to be constantly reiterating through all the scientific evidence, all the past masters of wisdom, and my own current experiment, that most of what people think is just lies, all nonsense, excuses, and it's taking over their mind.
Yeah, because you're condensing stuff. I mean, you're absorbing so much, applying it, and also just fact checking back and forth. Yeah, right. You're getting deeper and deeper into the science of muscle building, protein, discipline, all these things, and you're also doing it on yourself too.
Right.
So really, really valuable information. And what's exciting is following you, and then just every day you're learning a little bit more. Yeah,
it'll progress. And another thing that's interesting, and I'll just leave you with one other thing, because we talked about this in the last podcast. I found some new evidence that you'll find kind of interesting, is that someone's story, and I think they call it that. I'm not super up on social media because I'm a little bit older. I didn't grow up with it, right? Isn't it their story? Yeah, it's interesting because I don't really see a lot of people as their story. I mean, it kind of could be their story, but it doesn't really seem like their story so much to me, because it's only the highlights of that really special moment. Is that really their story though? Right. What about like the hard times? They don't really want to show that.
Right.
So I think it's their fake story, actually, to be really honest.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's not really good to just constantly, if you only show the most perfect, happiest moment, and then that's the way that people are like relating to you, I don't know. It's just not real to me. So I'm not attracted to that personally. Me, it's the real story.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I'm struggling with. Oh my gosh. It's like, God, I just didn't want to go to the gym, and I skipped legs because legs are just, I did legs today and I almost threw up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pushing hard. And this is what the body's telling me. Like, physiologically, this is so incredibly tense. We're going to try to do something to tell you to please stop.
Right.
Because we could maybe die. And that's just a signal. And it's not really that serious, actually. It's just almost like, oh, the fuel's getting just a little bit low on the car, but it's not like the car's going to blow up.
Right.
Right. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And so that's the way. And then I show people, my God, that was like intense. And I'm really obviously not that well trained if I only did 4 sets of squats and I want to throw up, And then my struggles with my diet and what's happening with my friends and family and my relationships. And it's just all going to get real, but then it's going to be a more distilled, better version of it. And you'll just see the progress, and you'll see all the inputs that made the progress in real time. So it's going to be great.
That's great.
Yeah. So one thing more I wanted to tell you, which will be interesting just for you.
That's Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram and TikTok's actually the one. Like you said, TikTok does the best. I put it out there on all of them, but somehow TikTok does the best. Mm-hmm. So that's the one that has the most. But I put it out there everywhere. Just, YouTube Shorts, and I do like quotes and inspirational stuff on Twitter too. I haven't really gotten to Twitter so much, but I like them all. But last podcast, what we talked about is the benefits of fat loss and cardio, and this is interesting. Even from walking. So I was so fascinated when I heard this, and I was like, I wonder if I could somehow find out if it was actually true, but it's really hard to measure this. So what the scientists found was, though, is that say someone goes on like a couple mile walk every day, what the body does is it has all these signals in it that knows that you worked out. So if normally you'd be sitting here and you kind of move your legs and you kind of mess with your hair and you kind of tap, all of these things it's called NEAT. Calorie burn. It's just all the things that are not specifically exercise, just little movements. This can add up to a lot, hundreds of calories or even more, depending on how kind of fidgety you are. If you go and exercise, especially more intensely, but even go for a walk, all the NEAT goes down because the body wants to make it so you don't burn too many. Yeah, so it's fascinating. The body adjusts so you don't burn too many calories. So then you have to be even more intentional. So a lot of people are like, gosh, I'm not losing weight. It's like your body's constantly trying to do stuff by making you hungry and eat more and making you more chill if you went and worked out, so you don't get out of your kind of comfort zone, your homeostasis. So you really have to be disciplined and intentional to break out of your current mold. And that's the challenge. So if you're not into exerting a little bit of effort to change your life, it most likely won't change.
So your body is trying to keep you where it's at.
Yeah.
That's really, that's what it wants.
Even if it's super huge.
Even super fat.
Yeah.
It's just almost like it's stuck in its ways.
Yeah.
It's like a company, or a big company. And, some new entrepreneur comes in with all these great ideas like, now, wait, this is how we do things. We've been doing it for 42 years here, right? And they just want to stick to it. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
There's one caveat to that, though. That it's only when you're unhealthy, though. So say you have an incredible muscular physique and there's no body fat. It doesn't want to stay there, which sucks, kind of.
That's
because
really
you put all this work into
really?
it. You know what's interesting? This is what I found. This is a little bit more philosophical than we can go into the next podcast. In order to be like a high achiever, in order to have a high quality of life, you have to continue to invest and build and keep the momentum going just to keep it there. And the higher, the more. So like say you're like a billionaire or you're an Olympic athlete. God, everyone's going for that. That's the highest competition. So you just go off your game just a little bit and then you're number 40 in the world when you were 1.
Right.
Just by 1% less effort.
Right.
For an average person, it doesn't matter at all though. You can barely even see, lose 1 pound here, gain 1 pound, doesn't matter. If you have 1 extra pound of body fat and you're a bodybuilder on stage, you'll lose 1 extra pound because there's a few little details that are obscured and it's not the perfect thing. 0.1 second slower on a 100-meter sprint in the Olympics, you lost. You're probably like 10th by 0.1 second.
The greatest hero ever with $1 million contracts to like no one's ever heard of you.
Yeah.
Would you lose by 0.4 of a second?
Yeah. Yeah. That can be a little bit disheartening, and I don't really have a fix for that, except for you just have to know that you're always going to earn what you get. Everything is just a mirror of what you've put out into the universe, basically. The way that you look, the way that you think, your bank balance, your relationships, it's just a raw, just true mirror. And sometimes if that mirror doesn't look good, God, it can feel bad. And I've been there. I have absolutely been there. And I'm there also now, even to some degree. I'm like, I know I could be so much more competent in so many ways. And when I look back at my history, though, what did you do? There's not a free ride here. You don't just get to have all these gifts when you didn't put any of the work.
Yeah, I remember when I was working out a lot when I was like between like 13 or 14 to like 20. I was almost every week, 3 times a week at least. And I remember I sometimes I'd miss a week or miss a few days. We go on vacation. I remember I used to be, and I wouldn't work out for a week. We're in Florida, whatever. And I'd come back and be like, whoa, a week. I couldn't believe how much I lost in strength. And so it started messing with me. We're like, I really wanted to play basketball in high school, but I couldn't because after volleyball, I couldn't work out as much during volleyball. And it's like, there's no way I can do another sport. I'm going to lose so much. So I started dictating my life. I remember vacations were like, I had to find a gym. Like I just knew like just a week off how much I lost, and it was a lot of effort to get to the point where I was at, And so it's pretty amazing. It's the material world, isn't it? Kind of like we're all kind of swimming upstream. Like that's, and it seems like it's not fair, but I mean, the bigger picture, right? This is, there's lessons here we need to learn in the material world too, right?
Yeah. And think about, how does it help you? Like if you're saying, oh, I was born in a poor family, or I was born in a country that's not as privileged, or I was born in a particular colored body that's, less advantageous for whatever. How does that serve you though? And what? Like, where are we going from now though? You just have what you've got, and you just are going to build from where you've got to a better life, whatever that is. And the more focus you put on that, the more determined you are with that, the more innovative, the more you see, the kind of like the potholes in the road, you'll just get better. And there has been unbelievable amount of examples of people that went from a horrible situation where there's hardly any privileges whatsoever, and they actually use that as fuel to be able to catapult themselves into the new thing, because they're like, I'm not going to, just be another statistic. I'm not going to just be part of the group. I'm going to put myself out, And so there's no excuses like that. It's just in the mind. Yeah.
And then those stories, like we mentioned, we just talked about, social media, they brand these things as stories.
Yeah.
What's actually inspiring? Is it the person that's just every day is doing so amazing? It's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's like,
no.
What did I do? What was I doing? I was watching something. I was researching like Instagram, TikTok stories. Something, I forget why I did it, but it was like I kept looking at the same kind of stuff. I forget what I searched for, but it was like everyone was like some dude getting up and making his bed, having some shake, and like working. It was like, why is everybody? It's like, I don't know. Have you seen this? I don't know.
A little bit.
There's like dudes making their bed. It was like, like trying to show. I wanted to make I do comedy stuff, so I was just seeing all the comedy side of it.
Yeah, right.
Why are all these dudes just like waking up and showing me making their bed? Is it like to show the girls like, look, I'm a neat place or something?
Actually, I do know, if you want to hear it.
Why they're making their bed?
Yeah, there's actually a reason why, which is actually kind of interesting. Even though on the surface it looks like it's nothing, there's a little bit of a trend that's actually a little bit deeper, which is fascinating. So there's a lot of people in the world, especially like in the past 20 years, it's gotten so bad that their life is so chaotic that it's actually hard for them to make their own bed. Not technically hard, but as far as them motivation, like everything in their life is kind of just sloppy. So there's this one guy named Jordan Peterson, which I think we talked about. Okay. So he told young men, he's like, I just want you to start with the most basic thing you possibly can, and that's make your bed, right? Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So he started this trend, right? So now people are showing, I can do it. And it was interesting. What he said was he he talked to this one guy, and he's like, I'm just stuck in my house. I'm always just sitting in my underwear playing video games. I'm 30 years old. I still live with my mom. I got no motivation, ambition to do anything. He's like, okay, so where could we start? He's like, how about you just start by cleaning your room? And it was a horrible mess. And he checked in a week later. Nothing happened. He's like, that was basically impossible for him. So he's like, well, how about you clean your dresser? A week later, nothing. He's like, okay, we just kind of distill it down to the basics. He's like, how about the top drawer, just your sock drawer?
Yeah.
He got that.
Yeah.
He was able to do that. And it was actually a win. So there's another concept which is really interesting that we can unpack later, is the more little wins that you can stack, it just starts to build an amazing amount of momentum. And when you stack those losses, which is just, you said you were going to wake up early, you hit the snooze button. You said you're going to eat well, and you just decided not to. Loss, leads to complete self-esteem, low self-esteem, low ambition, low drive. It's just bad. And all the wins are the opposite. So these are little ways where even the smallest thing, if you're not that good at it, make your bed. And it's the start to potential life. So that's why it's on there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he's the one. And he has like 7 million followers or something really big.
Yeah.
And he's really intelligent and well-read. And so it's kind of his concept. And I've actually used some of that myself.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because before I was just like, why?
Yeah, why is there so many,
why
right?
are they making their beds?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Cool.
So,
Well, awesome.
Right.
Yeah, we'll come back
Perfect.
and we'll do another one of these for sure. We got a lot of stuff more to cover. But that was great. So yeah,
Super fun.
I'm definitely gonna start looking into the protein thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been lifting more weights, and I'm curious to see what will happen with some protein.
Yeah, let's look at your diet later and see how many protein you got. That's how
Yeah.
you do it. So
Yeah,
perfect.
nice.
All right, thanks for having me. Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, have a good one.